Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin this final panel session on the ROI of testing. And as you can see, your panelists are already on stage to moderate the session. That's Mr. John Hager from Grand Software Testing, USA. And the panelists are Dr. Robin Poston, University of Memphis, USA, Ms. Mette Brun Petersen Consulting, Denmark, and Dr. Nishi Yasuharu, University of Electrocommunications, Tokyo, Japan. I'll hand you over to John.
So I'm doing the moderation on this, which means I'm going to try and do as little as possible. But I did propose a few, I'll call it beginning questions, which will kind of amount to some beginning level statements to the panelists. And that'll give you all time to think about questions. I've already warned people in the room that I happen to know, if you don't ask questions or somebody isn't asking questions, I'm going to pick on you. Particularly people in the back of the room may get picked on. So you are now forewarned. At any rate, the first question I wanted to kind of propose to the panelists relates to the name, return on investment of testing. And so the first part is, what are the returns that testing can provide? What are the benefits to things? And we'll kind of start with Robin and work our way around, if that makes sense. And you guys can share that one, okay? So what do you think are the benefits and returns that we can measure? We have to be able to measure these things, right?
Right, okay.
That's the tricky part.
So what are the returns, huh? Well, I kind of want to start by talking about how ROI has an art and a science to it. So when you think about art, right, beautiful paintings on the wall, when you think about science, you think of measurement and details and reliability, also replicability. So when you think of an art versus a science to ROI, return on investment of testing, you think of the science piece as measurement. We can measure what it costs for us to perform software testing. We can measure the cost, the investments. We can think about what does the cost of the people, of the technology, of the processes we use. What are those definitive costs that we are incurring? The science piece is the part that's the art piece is the part that's a little bit harder to think about, which is the benefits. And I know we're going to get to that in a minute, so I'm going to hold on that. But I think the scientific piece of testing, we can measure that. So we have those investments in people, process, and technology. And we can document that.
Okay, Anna?
Well, the question was...
Let's talk investment first, but it doesn't matter. She was saying it's easier to measure some of those things, which is true. So if you want to talk your view on investments, and that'll give Dr. Nishi time to shift gears. No, that's okay. There was no set order.
Right. Well, I was considering a bit what you said about the words return on investment and what do they really mean for us. For me, the investment part is very much something about us having resources in some shape or form that we put into something in the expectation where the return comes in, that it comes back to us at some point in time. And then I just thought about this movie where we have this, pass it forward. And we're not talking about pass it forward, the business of testing. What is it that comes back to us? So I'm thinking maybe there could also be a different way of measuring, or not measuring, but seeing value in what we do that is actually not coming back to us, but it's coming forward to the customers, and we actually don't see perhaps what it is, and we don't get it back in more or the same amount that we put in, but it will create value somewhere else.
Investment. investment. Oh, sorry, I have only 20 ringgit. So investment. Oh. Thank you for your good opinion.
University people are underpaid.
So in the simple meaning, so investment is paying money. But in testing context, investment is 3 types. One type is investment to optimization. It means speed up and cost reduction. For example, studying test techniques such as state chart testing, control flow testing, boundary value testing, and so on. And the second example is, where's Dorothy? Dorothy?
Dot, you here? I don't think she's here, Nishi.
So yesterday, Dot says,
There she is. You're on the hot seat, Dot.
Hi. Yesterday, so she explained the meaning of ROI and superficial automation is recognized usually as investment, but it's a bad, wasteful investment. Investment only for optimization usually leads wasteful. And the second type of investment is investment for quality of testing. And the third investment is, third type is investment for attitude, mindset. For example, changing roles of testing. If your organization now aims at checking specification, so you have to invest. You have to make an investment for changing your organization role from checking to testing, or from checking to quality assurance, or today's keynote speaker, shift left. Investment for shifting left. It's an investment to attitude or mindset. Investment for mindset or attitude is very important, but it's not so easy.
So before you go, you didn't mention, or maybe it was embedded in there, investment in people. I'm thinking training and getting skilled people that can do testing. Is that an investment in your list, Nishi?
Sorry, I miss your word because I'm concentrating my doing it note.
Investment in people. Okay, people are a resource. And in your list that you gave, and I didn't hear the other two mention it, investment in people through such things as training or hiring the right kind of skilled person can be very important in my mind, because testing is a human-driven, skilled activity in addition to those things you mentioned. So is that an investment also?
Skills or training, investment on skills or training, it's not so difficult. using a STQB scheme. Using if you get the certification of CTFL, but
Takes effort, though.
the changing mindset, investment for changing mindset is not so easy and continuous
It's true.
way.
Robin or Meta?
Yeah, so John, I totally agree with you. People, and I think there's a lot of components with investments in people, right? So it is the training, yes, and you're absolutely right, Nishi. ISTQB and other certifications make a lot of sense in building those, investing in our people to have the skills and competencies needed, the capabilities to do testing very well. I also think it's the technologies, so automation, the tools that we use, the investments we put in the infrastructure, the test architectures that we use, the test harnesses. It's also in the processes that we follow. So we actually invest in having more streamlined processes and doing testing better and in more capable ways. So I think it is a three-tiered look at investment.
And yeah, well said. I agree with all that. And I think additional in investing in people for software testing in our company, we also, as companies, hopefully invest in the society in which we take part, where people development, having good possibilities for the people around us is really important. So the investment, although it's done in a company context, goes even further out than just within the company.
And I would add, it can be done on a personal level. I can invest in myself to become a more skilled tester, which then makes me more attractive to the marketplace.
So John, I have a question for the audience. How many people here have a college background in software testing? Have taken courses at a college or a university in software testing? Anybody? Nobody? I see 1, 2, maybe 5, 6. Oh, now we're getting some more people to admit it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think universities as well need to invest more into investing in our people as well in the testing space.
Yeah, and as Dr. Nishi points out, some things are easier to invest in than others. Some are very hard to achieve. Before I leave the I part of investment, were there any others that you three had on investment?
In personal level, so investment on skills is important, I agree. And when I observe my students or company professionals, some of them are investing their skills very much, but I feel they miss another important matter. It's they should invest the feeling, emotion or passion to love testing. So you should invest your money and time to be excited with testing.
You must have been listening to my session yesterday. I know you were there. I fully agree with the passion and attitude stuff. I think sometimes as testers, maybe because sometimes you all feel undervalued, but I can tell you in the 35 years that I've been involved in software and testing, programming and testing both, testing is a very hard problem. It's a very challenging problem. And you should be excited by it and consider it as something that becomes a career. I had several people come up and go, is testing a good career? I've been doing it for at least 30 years, and I think it's been a good career for me. And you've heard some presentations here. It's going to change. You know, there's going to be changes, but that's happened all along in industry. So next area. And how late do we go on this session? Where's our timekeeper? Because I didn't bring my thing up here, and I think we go for another good 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So somebody in the official timekeeping department will have to tell me, because I kind of ignored that step. Ms. Stur is right up there in front. She's the boss. So we talked about the investment side, and we can certainly on investment side put numbers to a lot of things. Nishi's thing on getting the right attitude to change something, that may be a little bit harder to put a number on. But the one that's even harder, at least in times that I've been asked, and Dot alluded to this yesterday, is the return part, the benefit part, because it's hard. If you produce a product that's high quality and well tested, and it gets out in the field and delights everybody, it's very tempting for management to come along and not remember all that hard work of testing and verification, validation, and things, and they have a hard time saying, you know, what those benefits were, other than they've got delighted customers. And I've seen them go, maybe we don't need testing, and then that leads to kind of another set of problems for them. So how do we quantify or even enumerate the returns, the thing that testing provides? That's the harder question, I think. Robin, you're next.
Okay. All right, well, it is the hard question, right? So art and a science, now we're to the art side. When you see a painting, how do we express in numbers the beauty of that painting? How do we express the subjectivity involved in a beautiful building or in a beautiful landscape? So these are called intangibles, right? How do we value those? I'm going to put my accounting hat on. I actually have a CPA in the United States, and one of the things the United States is grappling with is a rule that says we need to quantify our intangibles. They need to be part of our financial statements. So things like goodwill, things like patents, we have to put values to these, future values. And so I would say the same thing is happening in testing. What is the benefits of testing? How do you quantify fixing things sooner? How do you quantify reduced time to market? Or other things like better customer retention. Customers will stay and use our products. Our users will be happier. Morale goes up. Those are all benefits of testing and catching defects and fixing them. So how do we quantify those things? I'm going to tell you that we need to do we need to use an interdisciplinary approach. We will need to work with the accountants and the financial people, and we will need to work with our users to start to think about creative ways to put quantities to these subjective, seemingly subjective situations. The accountants are being asked to do this across the board. So I think testing is no different, and we should start to have those conversations.
I was just thinking also that there is maybe a nuance in the questions if we're talking about testing and testers, the people in the profession, and actually the activities we do to deliver products on time and good quality and so on. Because often what we deliver as software is a team effort which requires many different people, not just developers, not just testers, not just project managers. And all of us contribute to this end product. And it's really hard to go and say, you did this part and I did that part, so hence I did maybe 20% of the, oh, okay, I did a bigger part, 20% of the value that the customers got out of it. Because I think that's sort of the value that our activities generate, but as it's a thing that comes together, you can't put it directly back. However, this said, inspired by what you said, is also maybe about what value do we assign to it in these intangible things. Do we think it's really valuable? Well, then you can get a lot of money for it. If we think it absolutely has no value, you don't get so much money for it. And there is maybe a business case to get someone from marketing in and crank it up. So in that sense, measuring it or just giving the perception that it's of huge value might also have an impact on how it's seen in the organization.
In my sense, so the return consists of 3 types. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm primary work. My primary work is university professor, but my secondary work is consultant. So the consultant in all over the world like 3. And if you are going to marry, so the important number is 4. Okay. So return means 3 types of returns in short range, middle range, and long range. In short range, people say return is indicated by money in each quarter. So it easily leads to bad habits such as firing engineers and so on. So making organization slim and so on. But the important thing, something important is the return in middle range and long range. In middle range, return is to make people smarter. Anyone who already find out testing can make yourself smarter, please raise your hand. Oh, a lot of people. Oh, Master, Malaysia is a good country. People in testing area are very smart. So, automation can make you smarter. Process can make you smarter. It means automation which doesn't lead you to be smarter, such automation is wasteful. You have to avoid. So the measurement of return in middle range is how smart people are or people get. But it's not tangible. It's just intangible. But you can measure in your way. So please try to measure or evaluate you and your colleague is smart or getting smarter. And in long range, return means making organization flexible. Flexible means making organization be likely to change, wants to change. It means creative to do Kaizen ways. Do you know Kaizen? Kaizen is the Japanese word of continuous improvement, and flexible means innovative. making organization innovative is a very difficult but important work. So you have to invest especially if you are a manager or executive, so you have to invest your money, resource, and your passion to make organization flexible.
So I hear some words about intangible, and I'll call it beauty as some of the returns. Does social media offer us a partial viewpoint into some of those things? Because of recent, I've been mining social media for things like data, reviews. You go to the app stores and you can find out interesting things, and people have stars and smiley faces, which I might be tempted to translate into indicators of beauty. They will also, one that I think the accountants may look at, is show how many downloads has happened. But you got to be careful with that one on social media, because what we know from some of the studies is people will download the thing, but if it's not a very good app, they will delete the app within inside of 5 minutes. And so you may see 10 million downloads, and if 99% of those were deleted, I'm not sure that's a beautiful app. So from a perspective of the accountants, does social media, which is one of the big changes, we heard about that this morning, that our industry has gone through, does that offer some insight into that intangible factor of beauty?
Right. So you're talking about how on social media popularity, different metrics that would go into measuring how successful you are, how much benefit you're actually getting out of a resource. So we could see accountants using that information to help value intangible assets. So if we thought about a company and brand, reputation, brand and reputation are things specifically called out by the accounting standards as something that can be measured and should be put into the financial statements. So we have the very identical analogy potentially to testing, to use a similar view that says, what is our reputation as a test team? How good are we doing? What is our brand? And look at Apple, say,
Apple's brand is respected around the world, and their stock price represents that.
So even stock price, right? So now we're getting an independent view of the benefit of something. So there's a number of metrics, and you're right. I think, John, bringing in these analogies and being creative about how we look at value and benefit is the future. You guys, I do believe, maybe not in the next year, but in the next 5-10 years, we will come back here. Mastura will invite us all back, and we will sit around the table and we will talk about, oh, that ROI thing was easy. We finally did figure that out, right? And by the way, I wanted to add a discussion I had with the CIO of a large corporation that's headquartered near where we live in the United States. This is a Fortune 50 company, so worldwide organization. The CIO said to me specifically, I want to know the ROI on my testing unit. I want to know the ROI per test case, per test run, per test type, per test group, and per tester. I submit to you that in 10 years, maybe sooner, we will get there. Think about data analytics and the power of the information we have today. We will get there. We will be able to value everything in a company, down to every person, down to everything we do, and testing is no different. So we have to play ball in the business. We have to be part of the business, and that's how we're going to do it.
I think that was a quite interesting take on it, and also I listened in on Paul Gerard's keynote about the Internet of Things, and I just got the shivers when you said that, and I'm like wondering, what is he going to use that information for? Why does he need that? It's on such a low level, and is he going to act if that test case is not on the level that he likes, or what? Wow, that that really impressed what you said there. That's quite interesting.
People used to ask, why do I need a mobile phone?
Yes, definitely. And I think you're right in the sense that also with the intangible things where we now talk, when you said social media emotions, like do people like the stuff or don't they like it? That what is coming more prevalent is this about having things that can measure maybe your body temperature, your mood swings and stuff like that, and maybe you can now have your software take the camera because everything has cameras on it, and you'll be able to analyze while the person is using their thing, how do they look in their face, because they said it's going to say if you're happy or angry. So you can take that back and channel it back with your application of where did he pushed this button, he looked angry, okay, he didn't like that. Or he's now smiling and happy, or he has this pleasant look that he likes, and we start analyzing that much more. So in that sense, yes, I think we'll be able to know to a greater extent what it is each person likes about it, because it's not going to be the same, and what makes it bad for some people in certain situations, because it's not all bad or all good. And I find it a bit scary, I must say.
So do I have to have a mask on with my happy face all the time?
I don't think that will be enough.
For me, the evaluation based on all tangible measurement is just American way. So you American people is a hero country. So hey, please appraise. I'm 1 million. I beat 1 million enemies. Yay! It's American way.
It could be.
Yeah. And I'm Japanese, and the Japanese people are modest. Except for me. Except for me. Average Japanese people are more modest. So it means if some measurement is intangible, even if some measurement is intangible, we ourselves feel the measurement is high or low, rather qualitatively, not quantitatively, but we can feel. So, for example, the motivation of working is intangible, but every day we feel. Every day we can measure intangibly in ourselves. Today I am motivated or not. Today I am active or not. So in my sense, so you can measure everything inside your mind or your brain. Sorry, I am not good at speaking English. So in my sense, you can measure everything, even in spite it is tangible or intangible. You can measure everything inside every day. And every day's measurement, it's a reflection, one of reflection. Every day your own measurement is very important.
Don't put it down. Will,
Sorry, Avengers.
no. Will I be able to build an app for that? What you were just talking about? Do you think? Will I be able to build an app for my smartphone? Maybe that hooked to my watch. Right, a smartphone to measure an intangible. Is that possible? Maybe ask me a question. Are you happy today? Smiley face, frowny face, push. Would Japanese people answer that correctly?
So American people thinks that everything is outside from you. Everything is outside from you. So you will run techniques or technologies outside from you, such as an international standard or international certification scheme or textbooks and university and so on. But they are very important. They are very important source of improving yourself. But another important thing is reflection. So you have to run something from every day you are thinking and activity and failure. Failure is the mother of success.
I think, Nishi, we're on different ends of the spectrum here because I don't know how we would intangibly actually measure what's going on inside us. I think it's a beautiful exercise and it would be lovely to figure that out. But I don't know for financial statements and an ROI. I mean, think about why do we use ROI? Does anyone know? Why would we even care? Why do we care? Why are we here having a whole session about this? Or maybe thinking about this more in the future? Does anyone know the answer? Well, I do. Okay, I'll tell you. Why? I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant. So, number one, look, it's how the business runs. They run on money. Yes, they run on people being happy, but they also run and are in business to make money. Public agencies are no different. They take in money and they spend it. If they spend more than they have, what happens? They go out of business, right? And people will be very unhappy. They will have no jobs. So ROI matters to the business. The business cares strongly about how well we're doing. So in testing, we have to care strongly. And I'll tell you, at universities today, we are starting to address that. As a university, we have to think about, as teachers, what is our ROI? So it's not any different than what is the ROI of testing, human resources, finance department. All the different functionings of a business have to think in terms of what is your return on the investment cost to run that division. So we've got to be able to talk the language of business with the business folks. Comparison. If we know our ROI, we can compare ourselves to other groups, other testing groups, other departments within our own organization. That is a number that then becomes comparable across activities, across projects, across activities within a process chain, a supply chain. So ROI becomes the measure that is a generic comparison. It gives us transparency into what we do. We can start to think about the ROI and all the different components that go into that, all the factors that we've talked about today. We can think about all those pieces and then we can manage them. We'll have visibility and transparency into that. And lastly, we can design the testing process better. We can improve it based on those calculations, based on the input to an ROI calculation. And Nishi, I would love to see a way to get the human part to that quantified. Sorry, I got to quantify it. Put it into the number and make it part of the equation, because it's an important metric.
You are emphasizing the transparency and in my Western sense. So I agree. I can agree. But the cost of making transparency is so high, doesn't pay, because so you invented CMMI in 1980 or 90. So the CMMI scheme is based on the measurement and transparency on revenue fall. So a lot of organizations avoid revenue fall because it costs so much. And you American people shift your mind to Agile based on CMMI experience. So in Agile way, you measure a lot of things. Transparency is important? No. The important thing is trust. So trust, believe each other.
Oh, trust.
So in present age, today is not 20th century CMMI age. Today is in the 21st century, in Agile age. So transparency is less important for us, right?
So I just got a note that said 10 minutes left, but I don't know what the reference point from when that measurement was taken. But I'll assume it's like about a minute or so ago. I struggle a little bit with some concepts here on the intangible side of things, because I hear what. Pardon me? Oh yes, very good. I'm sorry. See, I would just talk forever. So we got about 10 minutes on questions. Does members of the audience, Herman, or did he leave already? I told you. Questions from the audience here. We got about 10 minutes or so. Please ask our esteemed panels questions on ROI, or are you so baffled now that?
Or maybe we can get some views on what has been said.
Yeah, or views. Do you think there's a difference in ROI between maybe Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy? That's an interesting point. And I was about to ask on the Eastern philosophy, there's many things, and it's not just Eastern, because we see it in the US. I know of people that will spend hours and days making a sword. A machine can produce it in just a few minutes. But the sword has an intangible quality to it. And people are sometimes willing to pay lots of money for that. That's a hard one to do an ROI on, maybe. So, come on, somebody's got to have a question. Or are you just waiting for the gifts, which, are spectacular, I hear. They spent tens of ringgits on it. So, no questions? Oh, there we go. By the way, you're now hired.
Hello. Hi, my name is Eliza. I'm from HP. Actually, I'm interested with what Dr. Nishi mentioned just now about investment into attitude. Okay, how to do that? Because I'm also a tester. I'm a test analyst. The attitude problem is with the tester from the business side. When we prepare all the test cases, there are two types of people. One is they try to make it wrong, make it false, and try to break it, the system. The other type is that they want to make it fast. They want to make it pass. Just make it pass and then they can continue their job. So about the attitude, how we can help these people, the business, to, put some, responsibility in testing. Thank you.
Do you want to take that, Nishi? I have an answer for myself. When I ran teams, I had teams of people that liked to break things. I had teams of people that wanted things to pass. I had junior people and I had senior people, and I tended to put these people together just because they had different attitudes on things. It's your attitude one. And they all learned from each other. And by the way, I valued them all as a manager, because sometimes managers pick favorites. The guy that finds the most bugs wins. No, that wasn't me.
Right. So academic studies have shown that diversity works. Homogeneity does not. So if you have groups of people that are very similar, all agree with each other all the time, and hey, they're getting along and they never argue, that's bad. So you really want some diversity, and you want different types of people, different levels of expertise on your teams. That makes for a better testing group. I'm not real sure what the question was actually, but I think this idea that there's a huge benefit in a diverse cross-section of people on a team.
When you have somebody that wants to find bugs and somebody that just wants to...
So somebody finding bugs versus not, well, they would argue their way through to a solution, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I understood the questions as if there were some people who wanted to get the job over with quickly, and therefore maybe they would not go to the same extent that the ones who really wanted to break the software. And the problem being the ones who wants to do it quickly, how do we get them actually to do a decent job? And I think maybe sometimes it's about what is the goal, what is the outcome we want out of it, and make sure people understand what it is we want to reach. And then evaluate on that to see, did we actually get to that point? And maybe not so much how people do it, because people work in very different ways. So what I might perceive, if we do it a bit in the house, you might have the wife and the husband, and they do the dishes differently. They hoover differently, and so on and so forth. And you can maybe say, is it clean here? Okay, then does it matter how she hoovers or he hoovers? If it's just that cleanliness, you get to that level, and then just accept we do it differently, and mine is not better than yours. But if we accept that, then we get the benefit we want. Or it could be that the person simply don't understand where you want to go, and then I think it's not, again, the method how you work, but it's understanding this is what we need you to do. And then I think people will come around, or otherwise they will explain why they can't do what you're trying or asking them to do. So that would be my advice.
The question was, if you have people on a team where some people just want to get in and get the job done as fast as possible, and other people that want to do really good bug finding and take a lot of time, how do you rectify those two viewpoints? Okay. I think that was the question.
Did this release anyone who wants to go home? And so if you want to motivate him or her, so do not order or arrest in workplace. So I believe every person wants to be smarter. So if someone doesn't feel so you have to appraise him or her. So, hey, it's a good work, hey. Like the parent and child. But the appraisal is very, very good, motivating way. So
Or give them nice cookies at the end of the class.
So testing, for some people, testing is just checking. So just follow someone's order. But we all understand testing is the way to making smarter. So you make him or her to feel he or she gets smarter. It's only way and the important way. So if you want to do so, you yourself need to find out you get smarter every day. So I want to ask you, you can find out you get smarter every day and every day. If so, you can tell testing is the work for you to be smarter. If not, so you cannot tell. If so, first you have to find out you yourself are getting smarter every day in testing work.
Another question? When do we get to the prizes, right? That's the question. So, and I'm just right at the 10-minute mark, as opposed to yesterday evening that just kept running on, I might add. I'm real-time tester, so I like to stay near the time mark. Unless there's another question, I want to thank the panelists. Anybody got a last comment, thought? Interesting discussion. I'll have to think about the difference between East and West. Question to you, Nishi. Do you ever read the American book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance? It might be an interesting read. I've wondered what the Japanese thought of that book. It was a book kind of about quality, amongst other things. At any rate, I want to thank the panelists. That's cue to clap.